Oh my gosh, you guys. José Mourinho out at Roma. We posted this tweet.
This is typical José Mourinho fashion.
Yeah.
He's got to put the trophy to let people know he's won a trophy there.
He had, well, their first trophy in 14 years, mind you. So that was the Europa Conference League back in 2022. But alas, as they say, all good things must come to an end. Daniele De Rossi, the club just announced, will be his replacement. He spent 18 seasons at Roma. And this announcement coming literally just about 10 minutes ago from the club. So the decision to sack Mourinho, they were coming off that 3-1 loss to Milan over the weekend. And before that, the week before, they were eliminated from the Coppa Italia by Lazio. Yeah. I think they only had one win in their last 5 matches. So it hadn't really, it hadn't been going well. They were kind of on this free fall. They were down to 9th place, I believe. Nico, what was your initial reaction when you woke up to this news?
I mean, it was very surprising. And by the way, that wasn't from Mourinho's official account, the one that we put up, by the way. That was a fan page. It was not.
Thank you for clarifying.
Exactly what Mourinho's words. But it was surprising. I think it was surprising to the players. It was kind of very last minute. Mind you, Mourinho's contract was running out at the end of the season. And he was very beloved. He after a decade plus, or what was it, 14-year title drought, Mourinho gave Roma a trophy again and then took them again to another continental final, first winning the Europa Conference League and then getting to the final of the Europa League. Given his squad, I think Mourinho overachieved.
Yeah, I think it was a success as well. Getting to 2 continental finals is one thing, and winning a trophy. And you could tell how the fans embraced and loved Jose, and he gave it back to them. He knew exactly how to get into the hearts of Roma fans, and he wasn't given a transfer kitty like he was given at Chelsea or given at Real Madrid. But he made the most of what he had, absolutely. And this was a club where he's used the most players.
So you were surprised?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's used 58 players in his time at Roma. That's quite a bit of players and giving opportunities to young players. And I mean, I look at Edouard Bouvet as one of the young players who he's given, and look at in the Europa League, we saw a number of young players getting opportunities. So, yeah, it's a little bit disappointing and shocking that they sacked him now. It was probably done more on his accord. Given the frustration with the financial backing, but it's
still an odd
success.
time in the middle of a transfer window to just bow out if it was on his accord. I mean, if you look over the span of his career, this is the worst win percentage he's had at 49%, averaging 1.7 points per game. And you could tell that ever since the issues with him waiting for the ref last year, it seems like the Jose Mourinho media games have kind of strained his relationship, or at least that was like an inkling I was getting, at least from just seeing how he was being portrayed.
Strained his relationship with whom?
With the front office, with the rest of Roma. It seemed like it was at odds of how Roma wanted to approach. There's some reports that the American owners were upset at some of the media games he was playing, if you want to call it that. If you go back to Pep's autobiography, there's conversations about when Jose wanted the job at Barca, he claimed, this is reportedly, claimed that his games in the media is on purpose, to draw attention away from the team, to draw attention to him, to make it a bit more, to put more of the pressure on himself versus the players. I don't know how true that is, but it does feel like maybe he had gone too far in the last year with his games.
I think also it's more of a result. I mean, you lose in this last span. The straw that broke the camel's back was definitely losses to Juve, Lazio.
That was
and then losing to Milan. You're sitting mid-table, when at one point with this team he was competing towards the top part of the table in Serie A. So at this point, it's like everything was put on the plate. If you're looking at it in hindsight, it's like, okay, I guess this is the way they want to go with.
All right,
the results not falling their way.
For more reaction on this breaking news, let's bring in our good friend Marco Messina. Good morning, Marco. Thank you for joining us bright and early. Very curious to get your reaction waking up to this news that Jose Mourinho out at Roma. What do you make of it?
Yeah, what's up, guys? I'm pretty sad. I'm not going to lie. I was completely surprised, like I think even Jose Mourinho was as well. because so many of the best reports, the closest people to the club, said that he would not be sacked, right? Thinking about José Mourinho sacked seems crazy. And I'm kind of stuck between two minds right now. My emotional side that absolutely loves José and that experienced Roma under him and saw the enthusiasm that he brought from the fans and the way they connected the fan base. But then you look at some of the results that he's had, and you can't deny it. 1 win in the last 6 games. Their away form is absolutely awful. In the away table, they sit in 14th place, and they do have the 3rd largest wage bill in Serie A. So I understand from the Friedkins, from the owners, why they would do this. But personally, I don't think that he deserves to be sacked mid-season, considering how poorly this Roma was built. And when you look at the problems and you dig deeper into this club and you see that their sporting director, they don't even have one at this point because he got sacked as well. The team was not built properly. And I think he tried everything he could to make this work, and it never got to that point of achieving the Champions League football that they wanted. They got close, but they didn't. But I agree with a lot of what you guys said on the desk. For me, getting that trophy for the first time in 14 years and seeing that enthusiasm, I loved having José Mourinho in Rome.
Marco, you spent quite a bit of time with him a couple of years ago. How do you feel that he's changed from at least the public narrative? When you're in private with him, having these conversations, how much did he love Roma? And how much did the players, did you feel, loved his presence?
Well, one thing is they said, by the way, that the players didn't even know. They found out when we found out, when we woke up to the news. So, that can't be a good situation. But when I interviewed him, and I'm so grateful, it's one of the career highlights of my entire life is interviewing José Mourinho, and I have to thank CBS for that. The way that he loved Rome was so touching. It made me love Rome. I have a book about Roma here. I have a robe that's Roma because of this. It's his enthusiasm
You dressed
for
up
the
as
club.
Romulus and Remus for Halloween, didn't you?
I didn't go that far. Yeah, that sounds like something you would do. Not me.
That's Nico right there.
he does it on the weekends.
But it's that connection. He could not believe how much the Roma fans love him. I mean, even when he got thrown off, when he got red carded, the entire stadium was singing his name. I mean, what other fan base in the world would do something like that? And I think to answer your question, the thing that he took the most pride in is trying to build up the youngsters. He used to go to Primavera games and watch them play and put them into the squad. Yes, that was for necessity because he needed to bring in youngsters like he did with Zalewski, like he did with Bove, like he did with a bunch of other guys. I think that he was really sad. And there's a video going around on social media of him leaving and the Roma fans, crying and saying, like, we love you, we still love you. And he's actually got tears in his eyes, which is something that I never expected to see from José Mourinho. So for me, again, like I said, I'm biased, but I'm really sad that this story is over.
Marco, there was some conversation, in fact, you said it on the show, that the odds are they wouldn't really even be able to afford him going next season. So I'm sure in his mind, or maybe you know from just covering the league so much, maybe there was an option for him. Do you think within Serie A, do you think there's another club that would jump at the opportunity? Maybe someone like a Napoli?
I don't know if they'll have the money to be able to do that. And I think Jose really thought that he was going to stay. I mean, he's professed his love. You guys brought it up on the show recently, too, when I was on last time. He has continually said, I want to stay at Roma. If I'm not at Roma next year, it's because of the ownership. It's not because of me, because I want to stay at all costs. So that was funny to really see that switch up and to see him sack now. I think for Serie A clubs, the reality is it's difficult. And now there's a new tax law, which is why I started getting my doubts on if he could remain. There used to be a tax law where you would get benefits if a foreign coach would come, or even an Italian that lived abroad, you would pay less taxes. So that's how Serie A has been able to afford players like Lukaku, managers like José Mourinho. So I do find it difficult, even though we would want to see him stay. I don't see him going to Napoli.
Marco, I had the opportunity to play against Daniele De Rossi in the Confederations Cup with Italy, and I saw what a great coach he was on the pitch, just positioning guys. He was tactically sound. How do you see him as a manager fitting in? I know he's all about the Roma lifestyle and the culture. He's bled for the club. Do you think this is the right move if it's not Mourinho?
I think it's an extremely intelligent move from the Friedkins, from the ownership group, because you lose a character like Mourinho, which, as I said, maybe the enthusiasm has dipped a little bit, but he was absolutely loved. You could have seen fans revolting. they're never going to revolt against a guy like Daniele De Rossi. He's Roman born. He's Roma to the core. He's been in the curva, in their stands, eating a panino, watching games as a tifoso because he's just an ultra. He said that if he was never a footballer, he would have just followed Roma full time and been in the stands no matter what. So I think it's a smart move. It's going to be a short-term one, I think. Let's see what happens if he's able to do something. I have my doubts that he's able to really improve this squad. But the one thing is they'll have the fan base on their side, and they'll be able to make an evaluation at the end of the season. Obviously, the dream for all Roma fans, if you check online and you speak to them, it's Antonio Conte, who, again, has a huge high wage bill. So I think it will be difficult. But he is able to get the most out of the squad. But I think Roma as a whole, after De Rossi's time ends, after the season ends, I should say, they need to make an evaluation. What is the project of Roma? What can we spend? We know they have financial problems. Where are we going? Do we try to bring in a big name like Antonio Conte, which I don't think is realistic? Or do we go with a younger coach, a guy who could get more out of young players, out of cheaper signings? For example, a guy like Vincenzo Italiano, Thiago Motta, who are punching above their weight with Bologna and with Fiorentina. Do we go that route, or do we have to go and get another high-profile name? That's a serious conversation that Roma need to have, because I felt like the Mourinho-Roma marriage, it never really worked.
So in a matter of 4 hours, Roma sacked Mourinho and hired Daniele De Rossi, and they gave him a contract through June 30th, 2024. It's obviously till the end of the season.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And thank you, Marco Messina, for taking the time to join us this morning. I let you keep processing the news. I'm sure we'll hear more from you this week.
But great info.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.